everything beauty, cancer, and inspiration. Here is your co-founder and host, Kim Becker.
Hello, gorgeous, and thank you for joining us today. I'm your host, Kim Becker, and this is Hello, Gorgeous, everything beauty, cancer, and inspiration on Society Bites Radio, social interaction for the mind and soul. Our guest today is Rachel Sahu. Rachel is a 36-year-old mom of 3 young children who has been touched by cancer twice. Rachel's dad died of esophageal cancer when he was 56, and Rachel was diagnosed with vulvar cancer last year and beat it. She had 40 radiation treatments and 9 rounds of chemotherapy. Hi, Rachel, and welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
Oh, my goodness. I was so grateful when Trisha reached out to you and you agreed to be a guest on the show, because this is not a cancer that you normally hear about. So I'm inspired by your story, but I'm very excited to walk through this with you so that you can educate others on what to look for and what to avoid. But before we get into that, share with me about your dad and his type of cancer and what you kind of witnessed as he walked through that journey.
Yes, unfortunately, he was diagnosed with esophageal cancer when he was 56. We had never even heard of esophageal cancer until we heard those words from his doctor. The only symptom that he actually expressed to us is that he felt that his neck size had gone up. He went to try on shirts, and he noticed that he had to get the neck size up in shirts because of his neck size. According to him, though, he never had any other symptoms. He did used to complain about heartburn very often, but who would have thought that heartburn could possibly be a sign of something like that? And as soon as he was diagnosed, he was told that he had 6 months with treatment, 3 months without treatment to live. We went for a second opinion. We were, my parents were living in Florida at the time. They got a second opinion in New York, the best of the best, and they thought that they could save him with some pretty serious surgery and another approach to treatment. But unfortunately, the treatment just seemed to make him worse, and he did pass away 6 months after he was diagnosed.
Wow. And 56 is just, I lost my husband 2 years ago and he was 56. And so when I was reading your bio and what you had written, I think about my son he was 15 when his dad died. So, it's just so young. You just don't even, you don't even think about that. So how long has your father been gone?
Now it's been 12 years. It was in 2007. Okay. So unfortunately, he never got to be a grandfather. My sister was in high school at the time. My youngest sister, my middle sister, was very young, and I was very young. I hadn't even met my husband yet. So unfortunately, he missed everything.
He missed it on this earth, but I'm sure he's still watching over you, and you've got an angel on your shoulder now. So I always say my husband is working harder on the other side than he ever worked when he was over on this side, because he, just makes things happen for us. So,
I agree.
Yeah. So tell me about you and tell me about your cancer diagnosis.
Well, I never really had any serious health issues except anemia, a pretty debilitating anemia. That I actually had been hospitalized before, blood transfusions. They never found the cause. I've been scoped and all kinds of, invasive procedures to try to figure out the source of anemia. But they never figured out, the source of it. They said maybe it was possibly still my body recovering from my pregnancies that I've had. So I started having like yeast infection symptoms that were not going away despite me trying some over-the-counter remedies. Very uncomfortable, very embarrassing. all the symptoms that go with yeast infections. It's
Yes.
it's not pretty.
No.
And I just kind of got used to it. Then finally, I figured, you know what, I got to go to the gynecologist. It's due time for me to go to the gynecologist anyways. Maybe they'll prescribe something that will finally get rid of this. So I went to the gynecologist, and she didn't notice anything at the time. She thought, yeah, you probably do have a yeast infection. Let me prescribe you something, prescription, and let's have an ultrasound done to see if your IUD has moved, and maybe that's irritating you because I had a copper IUD in.
Okay.
So she sent me for an ultrasound to see if the IUD had moved, but this was not for another week or two that I had to go because I had to do it elsewhere. Went for my ultrasound, turned out that yes, the IUD had actually moved. So week later or so, had to go back to the original gynecologist so that she could remove the IUD. Actually, she wasn't even initially going to remove it that day. They were trying to tell me that maybe I needed to come back for that. Thank God she ended up doing it that day because while she was removing it, she noticed something, and I was trying to get her to explain what is it that you see? What is your concern? And she said, I don't know. There seems to be some kind of thickening, or she didn't say the word mass, but just some kind of abnormality. She mentioned it could be. I said, what could it be? She said maybe it's inflammation, or she mentioned abnormal cells. Well, abnormal cells was the first. We all know what that means.
Yes. Yes.
So what she was going to do is she was going to send me to a urologist, and I was all by myself, and I wasn't even absorbing everything correctly at that point. So okay, I didn't know why she was going to send me to a urologist. I mean, what does a urologist have to do with this? But it turned out that her concern was that whatever it was coming from my urethra. So at this point, I'm Googling urethral cancer,
Sure.
which is not good at all. That's really not good, urethral cancer, which actually is a thing. Went to the urologist. He was very concerned. He said, that's actually not coming from your urethra. It's coming from your vaginal area, maybe possibly spreading to the urethra, but you need to go to a gynecologic oncologist. So again, went to, just full of fear, went to a gynecologic oncologist, but I was still thinking, this is possibly something else. This is not cancer. This is,
right.
this is, there's a million things that this could be,
That's right.
And of course, everyone around me was saying, oh, Rachel, it's probably not. They're just being careful and they're just being proactive. But as soon as I went to the gynecologic oncologist, who, she had a wonderful reputation, and everybody was, raving about her. She right away, she looked and she said, this is 100%. This is 100% vulvar cancer. I mean, she said, I'm gonna biopsy, but she was as kind and calm as she could be while telling me what she thought it was. And so I'm like laying there, and they're, doing what they have to put some vinegar solution. It's called a colposcopy. And if it turns white, that means there's abnormal cells there. And I was like, is it white? And she was like, yeah, it's very white. And they started prepping, doing a biopsy. And, she kind of told me, I obviously we have to wait for the biopsy to get back, but I can almost guarantee you that this is what it is. So she sent me that same day for an MRI. And then the good news is that they did call me back pretty quickly with our MRI, and the MRI didn't show that it had spread or anything like that. So went back a couple days later, and we went over the biopsy results. And yes, it was vulvar cancer, which is it's like a squamous cell carcinoma.
Okay.
So cell is pretty much like a skin cancer.
Okay. Okay.
Unfortunately,
so
for the
can
location,
can they do surgery for that? I don't know.
They can. However,
Okay.
if I were to have had a surgery, it would make me so deformed that I would never be able to even, urinate. I would have a bag for the rest of my life. The
Oh
way
my
that it had
gosh.
been, it had, pretty much grown to where it was reaching my urethra at this
It
point.
really, so that was why her concern was and why she sent
Yeah.
you to a
Yes.
urologist. Okay.
So he was actually kind of sort of part of the team. They kept him in the loop regarding how it's looking throughout the process. So the plan was that they were going to do a chemo per every week of radiation. So like 5 radiations, 1 chemo, 5 radiations, 1 chemo. And I think the plan was at first 30 radiations, and just we didn't know how many chemos it was going to be. It just all depended, on how many.
Did they do
How many
radiation every day like that then?
every day, 5 days a week. Yeah.
5 days a week.
So
And
I
then
had
one,
to.
and then a
Sorry.
chemotherapy.
Yes, I had chemos on Monday, and then Monday through Friday I had radiations. And this was in the summer, last summer. I had the kids home from school. At the time the kids were 6 and 3 and 3, because I have 3
Oh,
twins. And yeah, now they're 7,
oh my
4,
gosh.
and 4. So I luckily was able to find a place like a daycare, for them to go daily while I was getting my treatment done. And my mom lives 3.5 hours away, but she would every week for a few days so that she can come with me for the chemo and then through the worst of the side effects, and then go back home and, rejuvenate herself and then come back again, at least when my husband would be off of work. So we kind of made it work, that the kids were taken care of and that I was able to go to my treatment.
And what kind of side effects do you have with, I mean, I cannot imagine the radiation in that area. I can't even imagine what
Yeah.
pain and discomfort that you endured during that time.
The radiation, the side effects from the radiation didn't really start a couple weeks in, but it really made you very fatigued, especially combined with the chemo and the lymph nodes in the area that it affects. It really just really zaps you, and it makes sure. I already had anemia, so it made the anemia even worse. It's like that's where a lot of red blood cells do what they're supposed to do. And then eventually, the burns start, and it's pretty much like your skin is just gray and dead, miserable. You have to do a lot of sitz baths, and it hurts to sit, it hurts to stand. Going to the bathroom is just misery. Diarrhea, menopause. I went through menopause
Really?
already. Yeah,
Really?
I pretty much
At
went away
36?
at 36. That nothing. That was the end of it. I think after the first radiation, I never menstruated again after that. So it's been a year.
Wow.
And then of course from the chemo, I did not lose my hair. That was one very thing I was grateful for, because I had the kind of chemo that I guess the cocktail is not one that makes you lose your hair, maybe a little thin, but I was just extremely nauseous all day, every day, no matter how much anti-nausea medication I took. They tried so many different ways to handle the nausea, and they give you a shot in your stomach and all different kinds of things, but I didn't really put a dent in it.
And you said something that, that it was a blessing that you didn't lose your hair, but sometimes I think that can be a blessing and a curse, right? Because when you still have your hair, you still look normal. And so when you would
Yes.
say, I'm sure, people would look at you and say, well, you're not sick. You can't possibly have cancer because you still have your hair. You know what I mean? It's just a preconceived notion that when you go through cancer, you get chemo and the chemo makes your hair. And so it makes your hair fall out. And so therefore they put an expectation on you too. Well, you should just be living a normal life because you look like you're normal. So I imagine that was kind of a tough thing too.
Yeah, definitely. I definitely think sometimes probably people, thought that maybe I was exaggerating.
Sure.
Because Yeah, I mean, of course, I was pale looking, and I looked like I didn't feel well. That's just the best way to describe it. But I had to kind of give a disclosure. I do have cancer, but I haven't lost my hair.
Right.
So it's kind of full. And, of course, you feel when you're sitting in a chemo room and you have all these women with their hair that's fallen out, and you're sitting there with a full head of hair, you feel a little guilty.
Sure, sure. But nothing to be guilty of, because the type of cancer that you had is no less serious than the type of cancer that they had. So, it's just a different cocktail. I know when a woman is diagnosed with breast cancer, because of the chemotherapy drugs that are used during treatment, it's 90% of the time she loses her hair. But we've assisted women with lung cancer, and those type of chemotherapy, regimens don't make her hair fall out. So it's just, it's just a matter of what they use, but it doesn't mean that it's any less uncomfortable, because it's uncomfortable.
Right.
And like I said, especially with the radiation and the different things that you had to endure, I can't even imagine. I can't even imagine.
Right. Yeah.
But out of this came something good. So you got to receive a Hello Gorgeous makeover.
I
So
did.
Tell us about that.
Well, my husband started telling me a few days prior that there was a surprise for me, and he wouldn't tell me what it was, just told me to clear my calendar and that he was not going to be working in the morning. And I had no clue what it could possibly be. I was kept on playing guessing games, and he wasn't telling me what it was. So then finally, the morning came and dropped me off at Salons by JC, and it was amazing. Everyone was greeting me and cheering me on, and it was like a day of pampering and all about me. And I still have the products that was given to me, the makeup and some lovely skincare. It was amazing.
That's awesome. And what was your favorite part of the makeover that day?
The hairstylist did a relaxer on my hair.
Really?
Yeah, because I had gotten my color done not too long before that.
Okay.
So she wanted something different that she knew I wanted.
Oh my gosh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
And you got a new outfit too, correct?
Yes, I love my dress.
And is that what you chose, was a dress?
Yeah, I chose a dress, and I'm actually wearing today one of the necklaces that she had given me. I
Awesome.
love all of it.
And then you had a reveal party afterwards.
Yes.
And tell me what you thought when you walked in and saw familiar faces that wanted to see you in your new look.
I couldn't believe it. I thought that I thought it was over when the makeover ended and I was given the flowers and pictures were taken. I had no clue that I would be walking into more of a surprise.
Yeah. Well, and to me, when we design the program, to me, that's the most important part. What our experience has been is that when women are diagnosed with cancer, people don't know what to say, so they say nothing and stay away. And that's when you need people around you. You need the support of your loved ones. You need the support of your family and friends. But there are times where they're just afraid they're going to say something that they shouldn't say. They're going to stick their foot in their mouth, whatever it is. And so they just stay away. So we always felt that if we could, rejoin the gorgeous woman and her family, and you looked normal and gorgeous, and we took some of that fear out of that then they would be like, oh, well, Rachel just looks like she always looked to us, so it's okay for us to be able to talk to her, and I can talk to her normally. And so to me, that's the most important part, is the reveal party. That's one of my favorite parts. So
yeah, it was very special.
Awesome. So, you were telling me that your children were very little. How did they react to mommy being sick and not being able to do the normal things that mommy could do with them? Did they completely understand what was going on, do you think?
No, I don't think so. And I don't think that that they I guess I'm lucky that it happened when they were so little, because I don't think they knew really what cancer is. I think they do now, especially now that they've seen me kind of talking about it more, and they've seen me. I was the honorary survivor at Relay for Life, so they heard me speak. But I think, luckily, I think that that it was maybe might have been a little bit of a blur for them now. Plus,
Mm-hmm.
we did everything that we could to keep the normalcy for them for the most part. But if of course, they were very sad that I wasn't able to attend, certain special things with them, or that I was, sleeping a lot. So yeah, it's kind of a mixed bag.
And how did this help to strengthen your relationship? Because I'm assuming that you're a lot closer now than you were before.
Yeah, I think, he definitely appreciates, the fight that I had, and the worth, that I am, and my contribution to the family. Not that he didn't before, but I guess now he really must, see the difference, of course.
Sure.
So yeah, he had to work hard to, pay the bills and keep the insurance and everything so that I could have the treatment that I did.
And that's really difficult too, because, I feel for families, because he wants to be with you and he wants to help take care of you. But like you said, somebody has to work and we've got to have insurance. And so it just makes it's a very difficult situation. And, you can't ask why. At least that's what I've learned from my life experiences. But what I try and ask now is, what am I supposed to learn from this? Whether it's, that I have a wonderful relationship, that that I'm stronger than I think I am, whatever that is. But I find that when I ask that question, the answer comes, a lot more readily, where when I ask why, it just kind of leaves me in a big circle. So I guess I really want to know, like, what would you say to a woman that's currently fighting cancer? What would your words of wisdom be to them?
I would say to keep up the fight, because you can beat it. Take all the help that is offered to you.
Mm-hmm.
Do not be ashamed. You did nothing to deserve this. And like you said, maybe there is a reason for this, so that you can spread awareness after, or you can be there for someone, going through this, provide meals for them, or whatever it is. But, just know that the odds are in your favor this day and age. And just to stay strong.
We've got a couple minutes left here. Outside of, like, your mom and your husband, was there one person that was really a champion for you? Was there one person that really stepped up and was just there through the good and the bad?
I can't say one person, because there's so many more than one person. So I mean, there was one of our teachers that live in the neighborhood. She held a fundraiser for my family. And she had my kids attend her art classes complimentary, without us having to pay for it. And there was friends who sent us restaurant gift cards to order food online. And there was friends who sat with me at the house. So there was such a good handful of people that I really can't just narrow it down to one. There was just so many people who I'm just forever grateful for being there for me.
And that's priceless. Just to be able to have that support is absolutely priceless. Well,
yes.
Thank you so much, Rachel, for joining us today. And I appreciate you taking the time and sharing your story. You are truly an inspiration. And I hope you continue to tell that story, because your story is very inspiring. And there are a lot of women and men that need to hear what you've gone through, and that you're still here. And that's part of the inspiration. So, hey, listeners, if you're local to South Bend, Indiana, and you want to support Hello Gorgeous, our upcoming Gorgeous Gala, a charitable costume ball, is October the 18th on this year, 2019. Check out our website, hellogorgeous.org, for more information. If you have any questions or comments, or would like to know more about the guests on our show today, feel free to email me at kbecker@hellogorgeous.org. We also invite you to follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and download our mobile app. Thank you so much for joining me today on Hello Gorgeous, Everything Beauty, Cancer, and Inspiration. I'm your host, Kim Becker. And until next time, stay gorgeous.
Another beautiful day, walking in the sunshine, spending the time with you. Last night we had a good time, dancing in the moonlight and loving the night away. I can't imagine what it'd be like. I can't imagine what it'd be like. I can't imagine what it'd be like without you. I can't imagine that.